Well, good afternoon, everybody. 3 o'clock Pacific time here in Las Vegas. We're at the brand new VegasAllNetRadio.com studios, Studio 1A. It's time for the stars of VANR. Here to take good care of that is Aaron Phillips, Ricky Cash, John JPEG Styles, yours truly, the Bobcat. Good afternoon, Mr. JPEG.
Good afternoon, and 1 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah, I guess so. Where are they all at? Well, we know where Ricky Cash is at.
I think they're all on the run. I don't know.
Is that
we didn't have bail money this week.
That's why I saw. I think you know what it was is I saw Secret Service people here today, and you sent the
probably that thing I sent to the president.
Yep, and now they're not only looking for you, but they're looking for Cash, who's at the Cash compound.
There you go.
And Aaron, who's climbing in the ceiling somewhere.
Yes, there you go.
All right.
He's bat crazy.
All right.
Well, welcome to Stars on VANR today. And today we have Mike McGee, who is the star of Behind the Wheel on Mondays from 6 to 7 on Vegas All Net Radio. Hey, Mike.
Yes.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing well.
I was expecting the 3 wise men.
Well, you got the 3 wise men all rolled up into one. If you ordered 3 wise men and the train pulled up and I got off, you'd think that you got your money's worth.
No, I would not.
Well, hey, thanks for coming in, and thanks for being a part of the show. We want you to be the star of the show today. We're going to talk to you a little bit about you,
Great.
how you got here, a little bit about your show,
Yes, sir.
and maybe a few other things. So why don't we start off by telling us who you are and what the heck are you doing on Vegas All Net Radio?
Well, my name is Mike McGee, and I am a former chauffeur of 23 years here in Las Vegas, as well as a taxi cab driver, former for about 6 companies, as well as a garbage man for 10 years here in Las Vegas, because there's no garbage like Las Vegas garbage.
Man, you don't look that old.
Yes, I am. I march with the doughboys, I often say. But yes, I was raised on good, healthy food, and so I think that has something to do with it. But I love Las Vegas right now.
How long have you been here?
We came here from New Orleans. I'm from Chicago.
Right.
Let me get that straight. But my parents moved to New Orleans, and from there we moved here in 1968.
Wow.
Yes.
So you've seen some changes here.
Yes.
How old were you when you moved to Vegas?
I was 15.
Whoa.
Yeah, I started my first full-time job at the age of 14 in New Orleans in a bowling center. And I figured out early in life that if there's something you'd like to do and you can't afford it, well, then try and get a job working there.
There you go.
Yeah, and so if you did that, you like to bowl like I did, so I get a job in a bowling center. And before long, I'm bowling for free, I'm eating for free, I'm there all the time.
There you go.
Fixing the machines in the back, doing the lanes, learning all these things. And so when we moved to Las Vegas, that was one of the first jobs that I got when I moved here.
At the bowling alley?
Yeah.
Which one?
I worked at a place that was called West Hill Lanes, which is no longer there. It's right on the corner of Charleston and Decatur.
Wow.
Right there. New Starbucks in that center over there.
Yeah. Wasn't there a theater right down the street from that, just a couple blocks?
You know, there was. In fact, it was a multi-screen theater.
Yeah.
And I remember being in line there, and a guy was there with his small daughter. She was about 3 or 4, and there was a bar right there.
Right.
And a drunk came out, and he staggered into this guy, and the guy tried to just hold him, and he punched the guy in the nose. The drunk punched the guy, the dad
that was holding the daughter?
Holding his child, yes.
Oh,
Punched
man.
him, bloodied his nose. We were all in line to see some movie. I don't even remember what it was. But Vegas was pretty wild back then. It's pretty wild right now, you know. But as time went on, I joined the military, went to high school. Let me go back a little bit. I went to Western one year, and I went to Clark. And then I stole my dad's car, and I went to Los Angeles and went to Pasadena, wanted to be a hippie and a musician. And so naturally my folks came and got me, brought me back.
You were how old at the time?
I was 16.
Wow.
He said, I don't mind you running away, but if you're going to run away, don't take my car.
Yeah.
So
Leave the damn car. Go wherever you want. So you were in L.A. at 16 years old in 1969, 1970?
Hanging around, mostly Pasadena.
Yep.
And went to Pasadena High School. There I met the beautiful Linda Cook, who was Sam Cooke's daughter.
Wow.
And she was, at that time, Bobby Womack, who was just recently passed. He was a great guitarist.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know how great of a guitarist he was, because on his records, he never really soloed.
Right.
But I can tell you, he was as good as George Benson.
Wow.
He is a hell of a guitar, and he played the guitar upside down.
No kidding.
So he got a sound that a lot of guys couldn't get. And he wrote.
Was he a lefty,
songs.
and was he left-handed and was just playing it upside down?
Yeah, he was a Pisces, like I am. And
are all Pisces left-handed? Or are all left-handers Pisces?
No, but left-handed Pisces are special.
Yeah.
And Womack wrote some songs, and a lot of the songs went to the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Mick Jagger liked the style that he had, so a lot of people got songs from Bobby Womack.
First rule of radio is turn your cell phone off.
Well, no one calls me.
Yeah.
But bill collectors. But I mean that's what I did then, and I got to travel a few places. Joined the Air Force. Ended up in Denver. Went to Tampa, Florida. Ended up in Denver. Got a job at a record store in Denver, the Record Center. Great job, no money, but great job.
Yeah.
And then I started.
That's the problem with great jobs, isn't it? Yeah. There ain't no money in it, but
I have a belief that the nicer your boss is, the lower the wage is.
Yeah.
The more of a jerk your boss is, the higher the salary.
Has to be to keep you there.
That's how it was for me.
Yeah.
That means you're going to work just hard enough to keep from getting fired, and they're going to pay you just enough to keep you from quitting.
Yeah.
So I worked up there in Denver, spent records, got to DJing here and there, and decided I'd come out to Las Vegas again, and it looked different. DJs were starting to take over these nightclubs.
Right.
Musicians Union was shrinking. And so I said, I bet if I moved back to Las Vegas, I could probably get a gig somewhere, and I did not. I got here and found that it was a very close group of people.
You had to know somebody.
Yeah, and so got a job here at the record store, Odyssey Records. Now, how long have you lived here?
Off and on since the late 50s, early 60s.
Do you remember George Eiferman, the great bodybuilder? He had
yeah. Right. Yeah.
George Eiferman had a gym over in the commercial center.
Right.
And I remember
over in Sahara.
Yeah, right off of Sahara in the commercial center. And a 35-pound dumbbell there seemed heavier than everywhere else. Anywhere else you could go, it just seemed like all the weights were heavy. It was a kind of a prehistoric-looking place. And I never got into steroids or whatnot, but, some guys just live at the gym.
Yeah.
Just are there all the time. But the reason I brought him up is Odyssey Records, we got held up during the day.
No kidding.
And during the holdup, there was one guy at the door with a pistol under his shirt, and there was another guy who was robbing the registers. And George Eiferman came in, the late, great
during
George
the robbery.
Eiferman, him and his wife. They both came in, and the one robber opened the door for him. And then he showed him the pistol he had. And his wife got so nervous, she just said, hello. And he told them to turn around. So they robbed us, and they took off on foot. And the police came, and they asked everyone in the record store for a description but me. It was just weird.
Really?
And people said, oh, they were 6 feet tall. No, they were 5 feet tall. And he had a red shirt. No, he had a blue shirt. So all you can remember is the gun.
Right.
That it was a big pistol.
Right.
So to make a long story short, I identified one of them in a mugshot book, and they arrested him 2-3 days later. Arnold Palmer had a cleaners right there on Oakey and Las Vegas Boulevard, and they robbed it. They robbed a gas station, and so the cops were just waiting for him.
Right. They knew they were going to come up again.
Yeah. So, but anyway, from the record store, I went to Caesar's Palace Cousins Men's Store, selling Brioni suits. Brioni suits are $5,000 today. two-piece suit, can only be dry cleaned twice a year.
Really?
The fabric is so delicate, yes. And so people like the type of people that fly in on their own jets, these are the types of suits they wear. These are the type of people I was waiting on.
I've always wondered in stores like that, in the Fashion Show Mall and some of the higher-end stores that you see here in town, do you do that much business? I mean, is there really, because you know the rent's got to be high, the nut's got to be, every month it's got to be tremendous.
Well, this store it was in the Appian Way shopping area,
right,
which is where the statue of David is.
Right.
And there was no Fashion Show Mall, there was no Forum shops back then. This was in the 80s, the early 80s. And at that time, we had a $3 million inventory, and we could turn that entire inventory. Whatever was left over, we sent to Boston to a place called Filene's Bargain Basement. But we had mink coats, men's mink coats. Inside it was mink, the outside was kangaroo leather. They were reversible, full length, 25 grand. We got 10 of them, and I sold the first one. And then we had short leather jackets that were $4 grand. You know, and so this is all new to me. I've moved here from Colorado. I went and applied for this job. I was persistent. I went there 6 weeks, practically every day. And the manager said for me to stop coming. He says, I'll call you. And I continued to come, and I'd spy on him. They'd say he was out of town, and I could see him. I'd see him hiding from me. So I cornered him one day, and he says, you know, I'm really sick of you coming down here. You know, I said, well, I just want to work here so bad. And he said, I know you do. I know you do. Okay. So he broke down. He gave me the job.
See, and today they'd have you arrested.
But, you know, I still do this kind of thing today.
You still stalk people?
If I have to. If I have to. To make a long story short, I worked there 3 years, and then later I got into being a car salesman, and from there, a chauffeur. Taxi cab, chauffeuring. Driving a limo puts you, again, right with the same types of people. So I was comfortable with wealthy people. I still am.
Same economic level, and
Yeah. So so I like to make fun of wealthy people because I've overheard some ridiculous conversations, you know. And so our society is kind of made up of, you know, the wealthy, the haves and the have-nots.
Yep.
And so now I'm working for the Trip Sheet magazine, which is strictly for chauffeurs and cab drivers.
Right. And I want to talk to you about that. We're going to take a short break here. And when we come back, we're going to hear more from Mike and his experiences here in Las Vegas. And welcome back to Stars on VANR. We're talking here with Mike McGee, the star of Behind the Wheel on Vegas All Net Radio, Mondays from 6 to 7. If you haven't listened to this show, it's pretty interesting. I've listened a number of times, and since we took over the station, I've had the opportunity to sit there and listen, and that I didn't have before. There's a lot more to your show than I realized. And there's a lot of information out there that you share. I've heard you talking about a lot of things in the past, Uber, Lyft, limo drivers. And if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to share this on the radio, but it's been a pretty unwell-kept secret that if you come to town and you hop in a taxi or a limo and you want to go to one of the gentlemen's clubs, or there are other places that you might call underground here in town, that a good taxi driver or limo driver or chauffeur will know where to take you, where to go.
Sure. There's the kickback system.
That's it. That's what was going to be my next question.
You know, I mean, it's been that way since the Strip was a dirt road.
Right.
So what I've tried to do is to actually get more businesses to take part in that, because what happens is, unlike anywhere else, if you're not paying these drivers to bring business to you, then
somebody else is.
They are.
Yeah.
And they may not have as good of a restaurant or as good of a show, or their product may not be as good, but this is where guys are going because they're not making enough money.
Right.
And if you've got a family, I don't think you can really be mad at somebody if they're going to give you $20 to drop some people here. They got a band, they got a bar.
Right.
You know, these
Right.
people are from out of town.
And most of them are going to have a good time anyway.
Right.
So.
But a lot of businesses do not like that, and they let me know it. You know, they feel like it's a form of extortion, and that these drivers, some drivers will come in and demand money that they haven't earned.
Right.
We had a situation where the Rio was nice enough to let the drivers and an extra person, wife, girlfriend, whatever, come to the seafood buffet, which for two people at that time was like over $40.
Right. Yeah.
So this genius takes the ad, goes to Kinko's, duplicates it, and he has 4 coupons on one sheet. And then he's selling them in the parking lot at the Rio for $20. Okay, so needless to say,
You got to admire the guy.
You know.
I mean, for his entrepreneurial skills.
Trent Carlini, I think the best Elvis impersonator, if not the best. His show, he did it also. He allowed the drivers to come and see his show. The tickets were about $25. So a cab driver picks some people up, never been to Vegas before.
Right.
He says, I can get you 2 tickets to see the best Elvis impersonator for $100. So gives them the 2 tickets for $100. The Hilton has to refund that money, the
Right.
difference,
Right.
because he did that. There's that. I always say it just takes one man to bring down a ship, one man to bring down a plane,
Yep.
one limo or cab driver to screw it up for everybody.
It's the old one bad apple.
Yeah.
Gives everybody a bad name.
Yes.
Because I know my experience has been, and I had some friends in Orange County, California, that had a limo company that every once in a while they'd ask me to, they'd be jammed up and they'd need a driver, and so I had a little experience there, so they'd ask me to come in and help, go pick somebody up at the airport and stuff like that.
Right.
And for the most part, I mean, the guys are honest, hardworking guys, not some of the things that you see in the movies that, they're not all a bunch of jerks.
Sure.
And speaking of that, there was I think it was GLS, the limo.
CLS.
Yes, yeah. They had a pretty big operation over there off of Sunset and Valley View.
Yes, yes.
And they were right across the street from a company that I was working for at the time.
Right.
And I came into work one morning, and there's had to be a couple of hundred FBI agents crawling all over the place. And I guess there was some drugs and prostitution, and there was probably a half a dozen drivers involved in
Yes.
this with the ownership.
Right.
And so here they shut this place down. So here you got probably 100 drivers that now have no job.
Well, it was weird because they allowed him to run the company for a while, and I didn't quite understand that, but he was allowed to actually serve as the head of the company for a while. Then they changed names, but the type of activity that went on with them is something that the temptation is here for that. I have a good friend of mine that called me not too long ago. He says, I got this guy, he's offering me $200 to get him some Coke.
Yeah.
And I said, well, man, don't do it. He says, but it's $200. And I said, look, just don't get involved with it, man. You're too old to go to jail. Just don't do it. So he calls me back. He said, the guy's offering me $400. He says, I'll give you half. I said, no, I need the money, man, but don't do it. Don't get involved. So he calls me back. He says, look, the guy wants me he's going to give me $600. I said, look, call an escort service. He said, call an escort service? I said, yeah, because a guy like him is not going to stop looking. If he's
Right.
already offering you $600, he's not going to stop looking. So just have him go look somewhere else.
Yeah.
Take him and pass him on to somebody else, because he's hard-headed. And he's got money, obviously, so you can't stop him. You're not going to change him. I said, So he gave him a $100 tip for trying to help him. But the temptation, people get in and they pressure you. Come on, I know you can find
Right.
us. You can get us a girl.
Yep.
Come on. I tell him, yes, I can't. She's in Pahrump. You got a selection. You got no diseases. You got no pickpockets. You're not going to have somebody put something in your drink. It's too far. It's
Yeah.
too far. I say, well, listen, you obviously don't want it bad enough. I do, but can't you find me something closer? I said, no, I can't find you nothing closer. Because I can tell you this, my experience was, as a salesman in Caesars, a guy came in there to buy a pair of socks, cashmere socks, which in 1982 were $35 for one pair of socks. So he comes in, and for the heck of it, I show him a pair of shoes. He said, I like that. I like those shoes. I'm going on a cruise. I said, is that right? So I go get cruise suits. We just got this. It's brand new. We got all the tasty colors. He says, I really just want the socks. I said, come on. I don't want to try nothing on, man. Just give me the socks. I said, come on. I really don't want to try nothing on. Come on. Listen, man, I'm just going to walk out. Please, sir, come on. Come on. He puts his first arm in the sleeve. The next one, look at that. I said, oh, look at that. Here's the slacks. Come on. Put the slacks on. I don't want to put the slacks on. Come on. Come on. Just take a second. Put the slacks on. Come on. Come on. He puts the slacks on. You want a drink? What are you drinking? What are you drinking? Just give me some water. I said, no, come on. You're in Vegas, man.
Yeah.
What do you want?
What do you want? Yep.
She said, Scotch and soda. I call the bar, send me the hottest waitress to the store. She comes in. She knows what to say. She sees him. Oh, honey, that's you. And she's feeling all on him. And oh, what is this, silk? Oh. So now she's working him. He's drinking. I'm showing him one suit, two suits. He's a 40 regular. The tailor's already done one pair of pants. We don't need him for nothing else. Next year, okay, you got 6 suits, got all this stuff, like $22,000.
Jeez.
So he says, you know what? I need a date. I said, okay, let me call the bell captain. He says, oh, no, I don't want those girls. I want you to get me a girl. I said, me? I don't really do that. He said, well, I tell you what, just give me my socks. Now, the commission was 7.5%.
Damn.
All right, so, and you had to meet a quota.
Right.
All right? So I said, let me see what I could do. So I go trolling the casino, and I see a woman in a leather suit, and she's older. He said he wanted a young one, but she was older. I told him, she's a pro. She's not going to rob you. He says, can't you get a younger one? I said, they got to be 21 to come in the hotel. So he says, okay. So he calls me. She's up in his room. She calls me. He says, go ahead, tell the tailor to go ahead and alter the suits. So that makes me #1 salesman for the sales period of 2 weeks. So I'm #1. I'm very, very, I'm gloating, I'm bragging, I'm rubbing it in to the other salesmen because we were all cocky. So the next thing I know, the next day, my buddy calls me. He says, hey, Mike, did you get a hooker for a customer last night? I said, yeah, I did. He says, man, don't do that. I said, why, man? You jealous? You jealous because I'm #1? He says, no, man, the vice cops were here, man. They're looking for you. No way. I don't believe you. Soon as I said that, pounding at my door, I open up the peephole, and all I could see was this guy's chest, okay? I open the door, 2 big cops, big white cop, a big Mexican cop. Is your name Mike? I said, yes. We need to talk to you. Open up the door, sit him down. He said, you get a whore for a customer last night? I said, I did. You ever done this before? I said, yes, I have. What happened? I said, nothing. It went great. He said, yeah, well, it didn't go great this time. I said, what do you mean? She robbed him. She put something in his drink and she rolled him.
Oh, man.
She took his jewelry. She took his watch.
I think I know her.
Hopefully not. He said, you got the stuff, man. You got the stuff. He said, you got his watch? We want his watch. We know you got his watch. I said, I never saw this woman before. Besides, he wanted a hooker. I found him a hooker. How would I know she would rob him? So he pulls out a picture. He says, is this her? And I said, yeah, that's her. And she's got the same clothes on. He said, well, we got an address on this girl. But if we go and she's not there, we're coming back for you. And what blew my mind at that time, I don't even know what I can tell you. He says to me, from now on, if you ever have a customer and he needs a hooker, you send him to I'll let you finish it.
The brothel in Pahrump.
No, that's what I thought he was going to say.
Yeah.
He did not say that.
What did he say?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
But I will tell you this: he did not say that.
Okay.
So with that being said,
So can you write it down for me in case I need,
I'll tell you after the show goes
Okay.
over. But I'll tell you this much: I learned a good lesson right then and there to stay out of that, because hookers would come and ask you to pimp them.
Yeah.
They would. They'd say, "You're working in here. You got to see a lot of rich men. I'm available. Here's my card.
Yeah.
Call me." I just read where Las Vegas has one of the highest population of sugar daddies.
Really?
Yeah, and they have guys that keep as many as 10 women.
Whoa.
Pay them all $5,000 a month.
Where the hell are you guys getting this money?
Well, they're wealthy to begin with.
Yeah, I know.
You see, the thing about it is, we always think, okay, if a guy wins a lot of money, hits a lottery, he ends up broke. Well, a lot of them don't end up broke. See, that's just
Right.
We're quick to look at the ones that failed. Oh, he won $10 million, or he was an entertainer or a ball player. They have lists and lists of these people. They've made millions of dollars, and now they're broke. But all of them aren't broke. So, look at Mr. Odoms. Come on.
Yeah.
4 days. I was just talking about this on my show. What, for $9,000, what can a woman do to you?
It'd have to be a lot, because I know I can get them cheaper than that. Oh, here he goes. Here he goes.
The total from Mr. Dennis Hoff was that he booked 4 days, stayed 3, and spent $73,000 on 2 of the lovely ladies there.
What can they do to you?
I'd be dead.
Yeah, me too.
And he almost
did with all the natural Viagra, and they said he had enough cocaine in to kill everybody in this room right now, man.
Jeez.
So
Well, that wouldn't be hard at our age, man.
Yeah.
All right, hey, we're gonna take a short break again, pay some bills. We'll be back in about 2 minutes and 2 seconds, and we'll be back with Mike McGee. And here we are again. I've been talking with Mike McGee from Behind the Wheel on Vegas All Net Radio Mondays from 6 to 7. Before we get too much farther into this, I've got this trip sheet in front of me. It's a little magazine. The Forum Shops celebrate Drivers Appreciation Day Thursday, November 8th. Take a look right there. What exactly is the trip sheet? Is this a magazine or a little pamphlet for drivers, or
it's actually the transportation Bible.
Okay.
All right. So if a driver is sitting and he's waiting for a fare, he'll look through there and he'll see that a place like Caesars or Fashion Show Mall or the shops in the Venetian, any of these places, they've got, like, here's a show for Chris Angel. 2 tickets.
Right.
Those tickets would sell for over $100 each. So the objective is for the driver to go to the show and say that he's seen it.
Gotcha.
And now he's better able to explain that, yes, it is a good show or it isn't.
Right.
So Crystal's, again, free lunch. Some of the restaurants shoot themselves in the foot because they don't serve some of the better items on their menu, because they assume that these guys have not been exposed to really good food.
Yeah,
So-
and that cracks me up.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you're driving a cab or a limo, it takes a special kind of person, and you've got to have a little class about you to be doing this.
Well, you should. Not everybody does. I
Yeah,
mean,
but they don't last long, do they?
Some do. Some, not only do they last, they get promoted.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So
Because
is that to get them out of the car?
well, from what I've seen, if a guy can bring in a high book consistently, then no one asks how you did it.
Gotcha.
The rest of you guys brought in 300, but every day you're bringing in 5.
Right.
So I want to take care of you. I want
Of
you
course.
in my newest car. Are you happy with your days off? Do you need some time off? This kind of thing, because these guys, they learn after a certain amount of effort, because you got to work. To be a high booker, you got to work. So a lot of guys will be jealous and think that you're ripping people off, or you don't have a lot of personals, but you will. You'll have people that, for whatever the reason, they've lost their driver's license. And it may cost them $40, $50 one way to get to work.
Gotcha.
And he may have a really good job. So the $40, $50 one way is not a lot of money to him, because he's a doorman or he's a bellman, and he's in a really exclusive upscale property.
I'm looking through this, and I see on this last page here, on the
Yes.
last inside cover, robbery ID form.
Right.
And it's got a picture of an individual here, and on the left it has the sex, the race, the age, height, build, hair, clothing. Below that, common weapon types.
Yes.
And it says down at the bottom of the page, if you see a flashing green light, please call your dispatcher immediately.
And
so is this something you've got on your monitor or your radio, or
Well,
this flashing green light?
this light is it's different parts. It's located different parts of the cab. Sometimes guys turn it on by accident.
Okay.
So what this does, it tends to have people ignore that light.
Gotcha.
But it's to let the other taxis know that you're having a problem. You're having a problem with someone that's drunk or they're on drugs.
Gotcha.
And they're irate and maybe they want to hurt you. So you turn this light on, and sometimes other taxis will cruise up to you and ask,
Yeah.
everything all right?
So if you do see a flashing green light, you should call in anyway.
Yeah.
Just to and we've got people staring in at us through the window like we're little fish there, and that's pretty cool. Hello. Anyway,
now you'll notice
so
all these
this
guns.
right?
These are all the guns. They can all be easily hidden. They're
Right.
sawed off.
Yeah, small automatic, long barrel,
Sure.
snub nose revolver.
And then there's knives.
Right.
So let's say you.
Well, I know what a knife looks like.
No, you're an ex-Navy SEAL.
Okay.
All right, and you're licensed to carry a weapon.
Right.
Well, you can't carry it while you're working.
You mean as a driver?
That's correct.
Right.
You cannot. So for 12 hours, there you are, and someone
Defenseless.
gets in. They get in your car, and even though you may have to defend yourself, I mean, they put a knife to your throat.
Yeah,
and
we
you give them the money, and they still act like they're going to hurt you. Well, I can tell you, coming from Chicago, I don't know so much about here, but most of the drivers, because you can own a cab, which you cannot do here.
Right.
That's another dimension of Las Vegas, is because you can't own a taxi cab. This has actually worked against the cab companies.
Really?
For example, if you couldn't own this station,
Right.
you could work here as an employee,
Right.
and to some people it might seem ridiculous. So along comes an outside company, Uber.
Lyft.
They give the driver a sense of partnering with them, in a sense. Now, it's your car, it's your labor when you feel like working, and here's our system. So you put that up against working 12 hours and making half as much money, exposing yourself to those kind of dangers. Yeah, you start to think, if I got 15, 20 years in, that's different. But a young guy, he might want to just get his own car, get his own Prius, and just go for himself.
I've heard you talk about Uber and Lyft and on your show a couple of times, and I've been watching the news, and apparently Clark County has not, or has said that they have not issued licenses,
Right.
business licenses to them yet, and the people that are operating at this point are technically operating illegally.
Yes.
So do you think, why do you think that the county hasn't gotten to that point yet, or why they haven't,
One of the reasons.
what the holdup is?
Red tape. Create red tape. Make it difficult. Stifle the growth.
But I mean, do you think that's coming from the county government, or do you think that's coming from the other cab companies to try to, putting pressure on the?
It's common with Uber and Lyft because everywhere they go, they face resistance. The companies will not get the loyalty here because they wouldn't allow you to own the cab in the first place.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, you got guys that are going to pretend that they have more vested in a company than they really do. They have to act as if, well, if my company fires me, I don't have a choice. I can't work anywhere. Which the fact is, they can't hire enough drivers. It's a job that it takes a certain type of person to work. That's why you see so many people that I consider people from across the water. This is attractive to them because they know what poverty is.
Right.
You know what I mean? When people say they're poor here, it's not the same when you come from another country.
Yeah, $11 a month isn't a lot of money.
You know, Now, you get somebody like that, they don't care if the cab's got an air conditioner, if it's got the 3 wheels on it, if it's got 2 doors on it.
Because they're able to feed their family.
So these were the people that were supposed to take these jobs and work and not ever get smart.
Right.
So what's happened is what we're seeing is all these young people that love these DJs and that love Britney Spears and Boyz II Men, the younger group that comes along, this is what they want. They want Uber and Lyft. They want,
Sure.
They love their phones. They live
Right.
by their phones. So we got all the old timers that just think, well, if I stand in front of this, I can stop it.
Right.
But no.
I personally don't think that's the case, but is it, can you really, as a driver, make any money? I mean, realistically, with Uber or Lyft or, I mean, do you have any experience with that at all? Or
All I know is that they claim you can make $75,000 to $90,000 a year if you put in the same amount of hours you put in driving a taxi cab, which is to say 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
right,
Well, if you're a high-booking cab driver, you're not going to make that kind of money. You don't have to worry about your insurance, some of your benefits, the maintenance of the car, but you're not going to make that kind of money. So,
you mean as an Uber driver?
no, as a cab
As a cab driver,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, in Las Vegas, you'll make $25,000, $30,000 if you're lucky.
Wow.
So they'll claim, oh, you can make $60,000. I'm still waiting to meet that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make it if you're pimping and selling drugs and driving a cab.
Right.
Sure, you can make it. But just straight up driving a taxi cab 12 hours consistently. And the owners have a belief in the more taxis we put on the street, the better it is. But the better it is for who? It's not you
for them.
waiting longer.
Yeah.
This is where the attitude comes from. The cab driver waits longer to pick someone up that's not going far.
Right.
So he feels like he's wasted his time. And then not only that, this person doesn't
They're going from
tip him
Caesar's Palace to New York, New York.
because it's hot.
Yeah.
Now, that's not a bad ride. I'm talking, say, from Caesar's Palace to Bally's.
Yeah.
Because it's just too hot
Right.
to walk. And some people get in and they give you $10. They know you're going to be mad,
Right.
so they just give you a 10. And a lot of guys will hit what they call time off. You hit it twice, and now you're only being charged for the distance. The driver will keep more of that money than the company will get.
Gotcha.
But you can't sell stuff. A lot of guys think you can, your wife makes the best chocolate chip cookies in the world. You could pack them up. Well, that's illegal to do that. I mean, you could do it. Guys sell chicken ranch menus.
Right.
Some guys work 20 years and never go up to the chicken ranch. I've been at least 8 times because...
You mean as a driver?
Yeah, as
oh,
a
okay.
driver.
I just want to clarify that.
But
yeah.
now get this. Once I went to the chicken ranch, I had 2 guys up there. I was waiting on them, and a woman came, and she had 4 pizzas, which were for the girls.
Right.
And she was a 10, all right? Her body had the curves, everything a woman can have that would make this woman a 10, this woman had. And I couldn't take my eyes off of her, and I said to the madam, as she was holding my money about to pay me, I said, you guys have some great-looking pizza delivery girls. And the madam said, oh, no, she's not a pizza delivery girl. She works for me. I said, she does? And she held the money. She says, would you like to meet her? And I said, I took the money and I had to go sit in the car. I had to go outside and leave and sit down in the car because, and I've had that experience. You'll get to meet women here that would not give you the time of day unless you were rich and money was falling out of your pockets and you didn't care.
Yep.
I mean, but to try and approach these women on your own without an introduction, and even with an introduction, man, you know, they're to the point. What do you want? Well, my Ferrari's outside. No, I want a man who collects Ferraris.
Yeah.
I don't want a man that drives a Ferrari.
Well, then that leaves me out of the picture. So we're going to have to take another break here. Man, this time's flying. You got some great stories. I wish you had another couple hours. All right, we'll be back in about 2 minutes. And we're going to wrap it up with Mike McGee from Behind the Wheel. Welcome back to Stars on VANR. Here with Mike McGee, the star of Behind the Wheel, Mondays 6 to 7 on Vegas AllNet Radio. Mike, I want to ask you a couple of quick questions here before we wrap this up in the next couple minutes. Do you have, in your experience driving cab, limo, or whatever, do you have one ride or one fare that kind of stands out in your mind that was maybe your favorite or your scariest? Or
my favorite ride was from the Sterling Club in Turnberry Place, which is a members-only club.
Right.
And they had a party, and Jack Nicholson was there. Other celebrities were there. George Hamilton was always there, and Lee Majors, Rita Rudner, people like that.
Right.
So I'm supposed to pick up the developer for Turnberry Place, which is Don Sofer.
Right.
And this Bentley in front of me was for Jack Nicholson. As Nicholson comes out, like 40 people are standing around his limousine that want pictures, autographs,
right,
whatever. So he gets into my limousine, and he says, "I'm just not up for it. Just take me out of here." And I thought, what are you going to do, tell him to get out?
Yeah, well, really.
So I drive out. I call my boss, and I tell him, I just forgot, I got Jack Nicholson. He wants me to take him to the MGM Mansion. He says, "Yeah, but you're supposed to pick up Mr. Sofer." I said, "Well, I got him in the car now. What am I going to do?" He says, "Okay, then." So I'm driving him. He doesn't say anything. I don't say anything. That's something they tell you. If they don't speak to you,
yes,
you don't speak to them.
That was when I did a few times. That's what they told me.
So,
except to ask, where can I take you or where you going or whatever. But other than that.
So we get to the mansion, pulls in, and I said, "Mr. Nicholson, I'm a very big fan." He said, "Thank you." I said, "But I got to ask you something." "What's that?" I said, "It seems like in all of your movies, you always get laid." And he says, "Yes, and in between." Yeah, that was one of my favorite. That was my favorite ride because I think so much of him.
Yeah.
But I picked up other people and talked to them, different celebrities.
Who was the biggest jerk you've ever driven? Or
I did have a situation with Anne Margaret where she lost her sunglasses, and she thought I had them. And I tried to convince her I didn't have them, and I had to bring the car back so she could look. And as she was looking, I noticed that her sunglasses were on her head. So...
And so how do you tell someone, "Hey, you idiot, there's your glasses"?
Oh, man, there's so many stories. You're bringing them back. But if I wasn't afraid of being sued, I could tell you quite a few things. But,
well, don't worry about it. Nobody listens to this show anyway, so you can say whatever you want. Yeah.
Well, one thing they always
No,
say,
be careful.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
They always say, you're the driver, you're the chauffeur. You see everything, you hear everything, but you say nothing.
Yep. And I think that's good. I do, and along that same line, I do photography as well.
Right.
And I always make sure.
And a good job, too.
Well, thank you. I want to try to make sure I never put out a picture of somebody that looks bad.
Right.
Because, and I've got some that are pretty hilarious. But all you got to do is do that one.
Sure.
And then nobody says, "Hey, no, I don't want this guy. Because I don't want this driver because all he does is shoot off his mouth about what went on in the back of his car." So I understand that. That's a good philosophy to have.
Right.
So we got about a minute and a half. Is there anything that you want to tell the listeners out there besides listen to your show?
I would say please listen to my shows every Monday from 6 to 7 p.m. And my engineer, which is Mike Fox, who is the exceptional host of Pit Road Racing. Did I get that right?
You're close. That's very good. Very good.
Pit Road Racing.
On
Anything
Pit
you want to
Road.
know about NASCAR, he's the guy. And Styles, Mr. Styles, any of you out there that have work for videography, you need photography, anything like that. And if you want your own show, that's the
Come on
right
down.
there. That's right.
Hey, and Mike, I just want to tell everybody out there, you don't have to be a driver to listen to your show.
Oh, thank you.
There's some good information there. I enjoy it, and I learn things almost every time I listen to your show about Vegas and about what's going on here. And it's a fun gig. You keep it up. You're the kind of show that we like having here on Vegas All Net Radio.
Thank you.
Because you're not just on a big ego trip. You got something to say, and you say it, and we like that. And I think that about wraps it up for us, huh?
That's about it for today, my friends.
Cool. Can I go take a nap now?
No, I guess
Okay.
if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week on Stars of VANR.